didn't hear me when I started. What I want to say in this presentation is that everything is invitational. There's no impositions. And yet when they heard me ask them to move, they heard it as an imposition. And they felt they should be compliant, so they just moved one chair over. That's about it. Enough change I can handle on a Friday afternoon. But you know the people who I really like? The people who stayed exactly where they were. They said, screw him, I ain't moving. And you know the problem with that is if you don't move, everything else is moved around you. That's how fluid wellness is. It's not a solo adventure. You're impacted by how other people move and what happens. So sometimes when people don't move, they talk about resistance to change. Oh, that person is resistant to change. I don't believe in resistance to change. Virginia Satir, a very well-known family therapist, said it so well. She said the gravity of the familiar keeps pulling us back into its orbit. The gravity of the familiar keeps pulling us back into its orbit. So for wellness, you want to strengthen your relationship with your spouse. And next time you interact with them, you find yourself saying the same thing that sets them up, and things head south. For wellness, you decide that you're going to exercise. Yes, sir, you're going to get out there. 6 a.m., you're going to hit the road. And there goes the alarm at 6:10, 6:20, 6:30, and it's gone. You decide for wellness, you're going to have a better attitude. And the third student that comes in your classroom sets you off. You have such good intentions. But the gravity of the familiar is something that we all are up against. And so I hope you just had a little sense of that in the physical movement, because really it's not the physical movement around wellness that makes the difference. It's the emotional, the mental, the physical, and the spiritual movement that all have an impact with that. So, here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like to find one person close to you, not a whole table, because that's too many people. One person. Make sure you know each other's names if for some reason you don't. So find the person, introduce yourself, and I'll give you the next step. Just a couple of comments about that exercise. On one end, it feels like a silly, stupid little exercise. And what was that, like a 2-minute icebreaker or something? On another end, that's how our world works in many ways. Every teacher in a classroom, and I know not all of you are teachers in a classroom, but every classroom is co-created. Any teacher who teaches the same subject to 2 different groups realizes it's almost like a different subject with each of those groups. Every presentation I ever give, whether that's to 40 people, 4,000 people, is co-created. Your eye contact, your nods, your responses starts to create that. Well, wellness is co-created too. And it's interesting, you put down a part of the face, you think it's the nose, and your partner turns it into an eye. and my favorite part is the negative part. You put down a B because you're convinced it's body. And then your partner puts down an I. And now it's, oh, really? So you put down an L. And then your partner puts down a K. And it means you have to keep readjusting. Ultimately, wellness is co-created. It's a constant state of readjusting. And how do you get home at the end of the day so you're psychologically there? The most important thing isn't what begins. The most important thing is what ends. Because when I watch it unfold, you see a tremendous level of energy in this room. And I'm wondering, why don't we sometimes tap into that in our schools or organizations at a much richer level? And sometimes I think we fail, like the penny, to either notice or we just hoard it. We see things that people do, we really appreciate things that have happened. We notice things with students we teach, and for whatever reason it only takes 2 seconds, we fail to show up. You know, one of the paradoxes here is sometimes people feel really good because they got a bunch of pennies. But the energy is as much as the receiving as it is in the giving. And you getting up and moving and voicing it seems to contribute not only to the organizational energy, according to Jane Gatlin, but also to your own energy. That's simple. That's small. In the year 2010, I firmly believe that small is the new significant. I don't want you to take away any big idea from the afternoon. I don't even think I have any big ideas, to be honest with you. Really, I don't have answers. I have responses. Ignorance is really the pathway in my mind that we need to go. Just because we start there doesn't mean that we stay there. But our willingness not to know is huge. In the field of counseling, one of the things that we often teach counseling students as they work on empathy and understanding of others is that at times we can have judgments about other people. We just slip them. And what we ask them to do is, can you transform your judgment into curiosity? But I'm not asking you to be curious about what's on the head or tail of a Canadian penny. What I'm asking you to do is to be curious about each other, about what you're seeing, and then to go the additional step and to get it into circulation. These pennies lose value when they're hoarded. Our organizational energy gets depleted when it's hoarded. When you go back to school on Monday, it's easy to let things slip or slide. I hope if you have a penny or you felt a penny, it's just a gentle reminder. What have I seen or noticed that I may have failed to voice that would probably energize both me and the other person? I don't know about the Catholic school salary base. This is the first time I've had a lot of people come up and grab extra pennies. By the way, at the TED Talk yesterday, TED is Technology, Education, and Design, probably one of the most famous education design conferences in the world. It costs about $6,000 to go for 2 or 3 days. Daniel Kahneman from Atlanta said that the set point now for happiness in regards to income is $60,000 in the USA. Any more money than that, you'll not get any happier. Which may be reassuring to the administration or something. By the way, those people who grabbed a penny, I'm pleased that you took a penny, but please remember, you don't need a penny. You just need to show up. You just need to see. And you need to bless. And you get it in circulation. I want to wish you well, all the best with the rest of the year, being involved in schools and education. This has kind of a couple of tough months or whatever, and all the best, and I wish you well. And thank you very much for enjoying some very intermittent sound and participating in our activities. Thank you.